President of the Senate, distinguished Senate President, replacement of appointee of the Federal Character Commission. In accordance with the provisions of Section 154, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Victor Ikeji as Commissioner of the Federal Character Commission, representing Abia State. The Senate is invited to note that the appointment of Victor Ikeji is to replace Mr. Obinna Oriaki, earlier nominated via letter dated 9th October 2025, serial number 2, whilst hoping that the Senate will consider and confirm the appointment of Victor Ikeji as Commissioner of the Federal Character Commission. Please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the guarantees and assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, this is referred to the Committee on Federal Character and Intergovernmental Affairs to revert to the Senate as soon as practicable. Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio GCN, President of the Senate, Distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of Resident Electoral Commissioner for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. In accordance with the provisions of Section 1541 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Honorable Chukwuemeka Chukwu, PhD, as Resident Electoral Commissioner, representing Enugu State in the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the second and final term. Whilst hoping that this submission will receive the usual expeditious consideration of the Senate, please accept, distinguished Senate President, distinguished Senators, the assurances of my consideration and personal regards. Signed, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is referred to the Committee on Electoral Matters . Well, I have two correspondences on the same subject matter, which I hope are different from one another. The first is the request for confirmation of appointments of career ambassadors / high commissioners designates. In accordance with the provisions of Section 171, subsection 1, 2C, and 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the underlisted 34 nominees as career ambassadors / high commissioners designate. While I hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the appointments of the nominee situation, yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. These 34 nominees are hereby referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs to report back to the Senate within the next 1 week. Distinguished Senate President, request for confirmation of appointments of non-career ambassadors to High Commissioners designates. In accordance with the provisions of Section 171, Subsection 1, Subsection 2C and 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the underlisted 31 this time. The other one was 34. 31 nominees as non-career ambassadors / High Commissioners designates. Anambra State again, we have Nkechi Linda, we have Mahmoud Yakubu. Bayelsa State, we have Philip K. Ikurusi. For Benue State, we have Paul Olga Adiku. There is no Mr. or Mrs. in front, so I'm being careful. I'm calling it as it is here. So Benue said Paul Olga Adiku. For Cross River State, this is a known name. We have Vice Admiral Ibas Iboite. I'm sure this is the immediate past administrator of Rivers. For Delta State, we have Mr. Reno Omokri. For Edo State, we have Honorable Engineer Abasi Brahima, FMHR. That must be former member of the House of Representatives. You know him? He's a landlord. For Ekiti State, we have Mrs. Erelu Angela Adebayo. For Ekiti State again, we have Barrister Olumiloa Oluwayimika. Am I right? Barrister Olumiloa Oluwayimika. I don't want to misspell the name from the leader state. It will be unsenatorial. But in front, Olumiloa Oluwayimika Ayotunwa, Mrs. For Enugu State, we have Right Honorable Ogwanyi Ifeanyi. Ogwanyi, that must be the former governor, right? For Imo State, we have Barrister Mrs. Chioma Ohakim. For Kano State, we have Lieutenant General Abdul Rahman Bello Dambazao. For Katsina State, we have Honorable Tasiu Musa Maigari. For Kogi, we have Alhaji Abubakar Sanusi Aliu. For Lagos State, we have Olufemi Pedro. For Nasarawa State, we have Barrister Mohammed Obandoma Aliu. For Ondo State, we have very distinguished Senator Jimo Ibrahim, PhD Dagger. PhD Dagger. Your nomination is noted by the Senate. PhD Warfare. PhD Warfare. Dagger. You may take your seat. For Ondo State again, we have Ambassador Joseph Shola Iji. For Osun State, we have Femi Fani-Kayode. For Osun again, we have Professor O. Adewole. For Oyo State, we have Ajimobi Fatima Florence. For Oyo State, we have Lola Akonde. For Plateau State, we have Yakubu Gambo. But anyway, let me read it correctly. For Plateau, we have Yakubu N. Gambo, in case there are two. This one is N. Then for Plateau State again, we have Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut. For Rivers State, we have Onweze Chukujinga Okocha, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. For Sokoto State, we have Dr. Kulu Haruna Abubakar. For Taraba State, we have Right Honorable Jerry Samuel Manwe. For Yobe State, we have Adamu Garuba Taba Nagri. Or let me read that again. For Yobe State, we have Adamu Garuba Taba Nangri. Whilst I hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the appointments of the nominees expeditiously, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This second list again is referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs to report back within 1 week.
And I'd like to move the motion on the urgent need to address the widespread lead poisoning in Ogijo community within the boundary of Ikorodu and Ogun State Senatorial District. And this motion is actually co-sponsored by Senator Gbenga Daniel and my humble self. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the Senate notes with grave concern the reported and scientifically verified outbreak of lead poisoning among residents of Ogijo community within the boundary of the Ikorodu and Ogun State Senatorial District, which poses a severe public health and environmental catastrophe. Alarmed that the residents have for several years complained of persistent headaches, abdominal pains, loss of memory, seizures, cognitive decline, and developmental delays in children, symptoms strongly associated with chronic lead exposure, and regrets that despite years of community outcry, smelter furnaces continue to operate and discharge toxic fumes from melted batteries directly into surrounding neighbors. Deeply disturbed by independent testing commissioned by the Examination and the New York Times, which revealed the scale of poisoning through both blood analysis and soil toxicity sampling, notes with concern that lead processed in Ogijo has been traced along international supply chains to battery manufacturers, serving global automobile giants and illustrating how Nigeria's contaminated lead entered global production lines at the expense of community safety. Note also that several multinational battery and vehicle manufacturers either did not address the contamination findings or relied on supplier-level assurances, with at least one battery producer admitting it had not previously traced the origin of its Nigerian lead, and concerned that while some factory operators deny wrongdoing, community exposure remains extreme, accountability weak, and national regulatory frameworks insufficient to prevent recurrence. Also, the Senate should recognize that the constitutional duty of the government is to protect life and ensure a clean and safe environment for all citizens, in line with Section 14, subsection 2B, and Section 20 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that provides that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government, and that the state shall protect and improve the environment and safeguard the water, air, and land, forest, and wildlife of Nigeria. Accordingly, resolves, 1, to commend the federal government for the decisive intervention through shutdowns and investigations, and urge the federal government to sustain and broaden enforcement actions taken so far, including closure of non-compliant facilities, export suspension, prosecution of violators, and also strengthen industrial safety monitoring. And also commend the Lagos State and Ogun State governments and their agencies for their active engagement with swift responses and collaborative actions so far. 2, mandate the Federal Ministry of Health through the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention to deploy emergency medical teams for free toxicology screening, blood lead management, and continuous treatment of children and adults in Ogijo. And 3, direct the Federal Ministry of Environment and NESRA to conduct a detailed environmental remediation and contamination mapping exercise covering soil, groundwater, air, and household dust practices or particles. 4, call on the Federal Ministry of Solid Mineral Development and regulatory agencies to enforce strict compliance standards for battery recycling and lead processing operations nationwide. 5, urge NEMA to provide emergency relief, protective kits, food support and clean water intervention, and temporary relocation assistance in highly contaminated households or areas. 6, invite the honorable ministers of Environment, Health, Solid Minerals, Labor and Employment, and DG NESRA to brief the Senate Committee on Environment on the National Cleanup Strategy implementation timelines and compliance framework. 7, recommend the establishment of a department within NEMA to be known as the National Lead Poisoning Response and Remediation Task Force. And lastly, direct the Committee on Legislative Compliance to monitor compliance and report back to the Senate within 6 weeks. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I so submit. Thank you so much for your understanding. Thank you.
Spread of lead poisoning in Ogijo community within the boundary of Ikorodu and Ogun West Senatorial District. I so second, sir.
Ogun Shoaib Folabi Salisu is my name, and I'm from Ogun Central Senatorial District of Ogun State. I'd like first and foremost to commend my colleagues whose senatorial districts have intersection around Ogijo and who have brought this up. And I'd like to also commend the efforts of particularly Ogun State and Lagos State for responding very swiftly to this. When this issue happened last week, I was in touch with the state authorities, and the effort was actually led by His Excellency the Governor himself, Dr. Abiodun. And as we're making this move, asking federal agencies to support the state ministries of environment and health. They are moving, and as we speak, they are conducting some health status check for residents around that area. And I think this motion, this effort will strengthen what the state government is already doing, and also brings to the fore the need to focus on border communities, particularly between Lagos and Ogun. Lagos State is arguably the economic nerve center of this country. Incidentally, Ogun State is industrial capital in terms of the industry that we have in this country. And therefore, this intersection sometimes presents some challenges that I think the federal government and particularly the community, the National Community Borders Agency could also be of help. I therefore like to fully support this motion and to commend the effort of both Lagos State and Ogun State government for moving swiftly. I would therefore call the attention of federal agencies to move swiftly to complement what the state governments are doing so that we can bring immediate relief to the troubled communities in this border community between Lagos East as well as Ogun East Senatorial District in Lagos and Ogun State respectively. I so support, Mr. President.
The Swing Senator, Father Hansi.
State. In fact, I was surprised 2 days ago when I saw the video on the presence of these people in Ogun State. But for now, I think they have been sent away militarily. And that is what we want the military to continue to do so that our communities will be at peace.
Thank you.
Babangida Husseini, representing Jigawa Northwest. Mr. President, I rise to participate in this very important debate because oftentimes our approach to this kind of problems is reactive instead of being proactive. Now, most of these industrial effluents that are maybe products of artisanal activities or industrial activities are hardly ever controlled and checked by relevant government agencies until this kind of hazards flows out of the system and then affects communities. And I think this is wrong. In Kano, the tanneries use a lot of water and release effluents into the river stream that flows down through River Hadija down to River Yovi. And it is not a surprise that we're having a lot of renal problems around the communities in the Hadija Jama'ari River. I think agencies of government have to be up and doing, to be checking, to be proactive instead of being reactive. I commend the federal government for the timeous way the matter was handled, but I think it shouldn't be an isolated case. This should be a general wake-up call for all industrial areas in Nigeria so that our people will be saved from these industrial hazards. I so support and commend the mover of this motion. Thank you, sir.
So we go to the prayers. Commend the federal government for a decisive intervention through shutdowns and investigations, and urge the federal government to sustain and broaden enforcement actions taken so far, including closure of non-compliant facilities, export suspension, prosecution of violators, and strengthened industrial safety monitoring, and further commend the Lagos and Ogun State governments and their agencies for their active engagement, swift responses, and collaborative actions so far. Those in support of prayer 1 as couched say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, mandate the Federal Ministry of Health through the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention to deploy emergency medical teams for free toxicology, screening, blood-led management, chelation therapy, and continuous treatment of children and adults in Okijio. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Direct the Federal Ministry of Environment and NESRA to conduct a detailed environmental remediation and contamination mapping exercise covering soil, groundwater, air, and household dust particles. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, call on the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals, Development and Regulatory Agencies to enforce strict compliance standards for battery recycling and lead processing operations nationwide. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5. Urge NEMA, that must be National Emergency Management Agency, right? Sometimes it's good to write it in full, so it doesn't look like somebody's name. Urge NEMA to provide emergency relief, protective kits, food support, clean water intervention, and temporary relocation assistance in highly contaminated households or areas. Those in support of prayer 5 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 6, invite the Honorable Ministers of Environment, Health, Solid Minerals Development, Labor and Employment, and the DG NESRA to brief the Senate Committee on Environment on the National Cleanup Strategy, implementation timelines, and compliance frameworks.
Prayer 6.
Those in support of prayer.
Prayer 6, please.
Prayer 6.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
My name is Ekong Samson.
Because it says, invite the Honorable Ministers of Environment, Health, Solid Minerals Development, isn't it? It's already here. Solid Minerals Development, in fact, labor and employment.
It is in respect of the briefing, to brief the Senate committees on environment and solid minerals. It's in respect of the briefing.
Okay, what you are saying is that the briefing should not go to only environment.
Yes.
It should also go to
Committee on solid minerals.
the Committee on Solid Minerals.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any seconder? Yes. Distinguished colleagues, prayer 6 as amended. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 7. Recommend the establishment of a department within NEMA to be known as the National Lead Poisoning Response and Remediation Task Force to coordinate cleanup, medical intervention, environmental monitoring, and traceability for exported lead. Yes, distinguished Senator Yahya. Amendment.
Mr. President.
So, thank you for that correction. Those in support of this establishment of this department say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now, this is very important for us to follow up and be sure that it is done. And then a report made to the Senate, because this department is very essential. And I mean, the issue is life-threatening, and a lot of communities have suffered and died from here. We had a battery industry in my place in the 1980s. And then suddenly we recorded a lot of deaths from the small river, because these things were just seeping into the river. It was very close to the river. And people were drinking from that same river, taking their baths from there and all sorts of things. And eventually, life expectancy in that community was not up to 40 years. So of course, you know, being a rural community, people did not know that this was from lead poisoning. So the final recommendation: direct the Committee on Legislative Compliance to monitor compliance and report back to the Senate within 6 weeks. No, we should give it time because of the establishment of the department. Can we say within 2 months? So those in support, that would the prayer 8, that the Senate Committee on Legislative Compliance should monitor compliance with the resolutions of today and report back to the Senate as soon as practicable. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Senator Abiru, let me thank you for this all-important motion. This touches on the lives of Nigerians. And what you are doing by bringing this to the fore and bringing this to the attention of all Nigerians, you are not only projecting the injurious aspect of lead operations, battery-propelled industrialization, but you are also letting the world to know that we have to prepare for it and be ready because this is dangerous to life. I thank you so much, and I also commend the federal government and the 2 states for responding swiftly to this menace. And I also hope that other states will learn from this experience and take remedial actions on time without waiting for it to happen. Thank you, and I thank all my colleagues who have made contributions to this and shown concern to the plight of Nigerians, because injury to one is injury to all. Thank you so much.
Point of order.
Yes.
National oil companies' non-compliance with procurement and local content laws in Nigeria. The Senate, aware that international oil companies are privately owned petroleum entities that operates across the entire energy chain, ranging from upstream exploration and production to midstream, downstream, refining and marketing activities. Aware that all international oil companies are in strategic partnership with our national oil company, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, vertically integrating its business operations and managing their investments for mutual long-term growth for both parties. Further aware that pursuant to the need for holistic reforms in the petroleum industry, ease of doing business and encouragement of local content in the industry, the Petroleum Industry Bill was passed in the 7th Assembly and signed into law by the President Goodluck administration on July 18, 2008. Notes that the Public Procurement Act of 2007 and its accompanying regulations strongly promote the use of local service providers and the development of local content in contracts award, and this is implemented through a policy of domestic preference and mandatory local sourcing requirements for foreign firms, except where there is no local or domestic competence. Notes that aside domestic preference and registration imposed on foreign firms operating in Nigeria, the PPA 2007 clearly stipulates and places an obligation on foreign firms to source at least 40% of their contract inputs, including local subcontracts and labor, from citizen suppliers and contractors. Notes that the federal government, in its effort to breathe life to its intention, established the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, tasked with ensuring compliance with these laws through monitoring and enforcement. Notes also that the primary policy objective of the BPP and other relevant indigenous protection laws stated above is to support the development of an indigenous contractor base in Nigeria within the ultimate aim to ensure a fair and competitive environment that also stimulates national economic development by encouraging the use of local capacity. Worried, however, that despite the plethora of laws and acknowledged importance of this legislation, most international oil companies persist in flagrant disregard for these laws by engaging expatriate individuals and vendors for supplies and services within the competence of local service providers and suppliers. Worried also that these international oil companies, in a bid to confer undue advantage on themselves, procure minerals through the free trade zones, thereby circumventing the need to pay the requisite taxes and dues, which in turn deprive the nation of much needed revenue needed for national development. Worried also that these breaches, which extends to recruitment, capacity building, and service deliveries, stunt developmental growth, endangers capital flight, stifles per capita income, procurement imbalance, and general economic woes. Now, therefore, this Senate resolve as follows. 1, to refer the motion to the Senate Committee on Public Procurement and Local Content to investigate international oil companies' compliance with extant laws on public procurement and local...
Senator Nader, they want you to use your campaign voice so that they can hear you very well.
Oh, very well.
That is why the chief whip. That's why the chief whip is raising a point of order.
Okay.
He wants you to use your campaign voice.
Right, very well, Mr.
So you have my
President.
protection on the floor.
2, urge the above committees to compile list of all oil companies in partnership with the NNPCL with a view to interrogating their nominal role and procurement records and recommend sanctions in the event of infraction. 3, report back to the distinguished chambers within 6 weeks from the day of adoption of this motion. I so move, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Just for guidance.
Well, the Deputy Senate President is already up.
Oh, he's assisting me too.
He's assisting you.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'm coming under Order 42.
42, yes.
The same Order 42. By indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal, I underline that, personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate, and no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise from the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it is sought. Let me begin from the bottom of this order. He ought to have submitted in written. I'm sure he didn't do that. If he had done so, you'll have told him, no, you can't read this under this order. Besides that, it's personal explanation, something to do with personal, not emotion. What he read now is just like emotion with prayers. So, Mr. President, I think I know you are a minority leader, well experienced. So please guide our colleague that what he has done now is not in tune with this order. Mr. President, so submit.
Point of order is sustained. When did we don't debate point of order? And then he came under personal explanation, Order 42. And he ought to, first of all, he ought to have submitted a copy to me. And you don't come under personal explanation, you don't bring emotion. And then you don't also bring prayers. Because no controversial issue should be brought forward, and it should be something that concerns you. And by the time you finish, you sit down, and it will be noted and inside the votes and proceedings of the Senate, and no need for debate. But this is a motion. So I don't know whether we can, because of how important you are to the Senate, as the chairman of Ethics and Privileges Committee, we can, is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to bring the motion on the next legislative date? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You see the way your colleagues love you. They said in spite of the breach, that you should bring it on the next legislative date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Well, sure do that. Thank you.
So, thank you. Yes. Leader of the
of a bill, standing in the name of Senator Etimbasi Aniekon
on parliamentary for us to take certain bills out of turn, depending on one, the urgency of the subject matter being addressed by the bill, as well as what we consider to be our priority, even though every bill is important. But the Rules and Business Committee will always check with the leadership to see what should be done in terms of priority.
Well, I think we should, all bills that had gone through first reading should be slated for second reading. In that order. And then, because I believe that every senator is important and every idea is important. Because this looks very fast.
Mr. President, I will engage.
I will allow this.
I will engage with the Rules and Business.
But please, when next anybody wants to bring second reading, think of your colleagues. If your colleagues' first reading has been lacking for 6 months, there is no need to expect your own to come first reading within the same month, and second reading, third reading, and pass or whatever. So let's try and give others an opportunity so that their bills can also progress. I'm just noting that.
Well, I believe that is a message to the entire leadership and to the Rules and Business.
Yes,
but
Rules
I believe
and Business
this is also something that
and clerk of the
we can
Senate,
engage.
Let's with the Rules and Business and give me a report on all the bills that are passed through first reading that are yet to come for second reading. I would like to get it by next week. And then also the committees, all the committees are expected to send in their reports for the half term, for the first 2 years. They should send in their, come again? Yes, they should send in their sessional report. What I have here is a sessional report on the Committee on Maritime Security. Okay, this is a comprehensive report from the Senate Committee on Nigerian Navy. And I will expect a report from the Senate Committee on Petroleum Upstream. A report from the Senate Committee on Air Force and many other committees. Please, as soon as practicable, let us get all the committee reports in before the end of the year so we can review what has been going on. That includes also the Senate Committee on Finance. So we would like to have your report. Am I right? Downstream. The leader of the Senate, you choose a date for the committees to submit their reports here. Because some of the reports, we may take them either in closed session or in the open, depending on whether they have security implications. But we must have all committee reports.
Well, Mr. President, I chose to give you this report in plenary. If it was a report we were going to take in plenary, we would have put it on the other paper and it would have been late before this. What we agreed with our colleagues was that those committees will write their report and they will brief us in closed session. And we specify the committees that they will brief us in closed session. And it's for us to give them a date during which they'll be able to brief us in closed session. That was our agreement. The agreement was not that they will lay a report before us here or that the clerk will bring it to you in plenary. So that I just want to I'll set the record straight in that regard, sir. And the committees are aware, and I believe it's for us to give them a date. We can do it on Tuesday.
Well guided. Senator Abiru.
And my distinguished colleagues, it is my pleasure and delight to lead the debate on the general principles on a bill for an act to amend the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act number 5 of 2020 to provide for the designation, registration, and enhanced supervision of systemically important institutions and for other related matters. This bill, which is co-sponsored by all members of the Senate Committee on Banking and Other Financial Institutions, was first read in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 18th November 2025. The bill, therefore, seeks to amend the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act to establish a comprehensive and regulatory framework for the supervision and oversight of institutions operating within the financial system and providing technology-enabled financial services. So the need for this amendment is that, derives from the fact that it has become not only necessary, but urgent, given the evolving realities of our financial ecosystem and the emerging risks associated with large-scale, data-intensive, and technologically driven financial service providers whose operations now constitute critical national infrastructure. As we all know, in the last decade, Nigeria has experienced a deep transformation in the character and structure of financial services, technology-enabled financial institutions, mobile money operators, payment service banks and wallet providers, digital lenders, switching and settlement companies have become not just part of the system, but central to its functioning. So they now serve tens of millions of Nigerians, and they process enormous daily transaction volumes and hold vast pools of sensitive consumer and financial data. Their platforms have become indispensable to every commerce and financial inclusion efforts. Yet, while their growth has been rapid and commendable, the legal framework that governs them has not kept pace with the increasing scale, influence, and the interconnectedness. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the BOFIA 2020 grants the CBN the authority to designate systemically important financial institutions. But the scope of that designation is currently oriented primarily towards deposit money banks. It does not adequately anticipate the reality we face today, which is that a non-bank institution, because of its market dominance, data concentration, customer reach, or technological capacity, may pose risks equal to or even greater than those posed by a traditional bank. Consequently, we are confronted with a regulatory gap that leaves critical parts of the financial system operating outside the highest tier of statutory oversight. So this bill seeks to correct that gap and responsibly address the vulnerabilities that may arise. Some fintechs now operate at a scale that has clear implications for financial stability. Their customer bases number in tens of millions, and their transaction flows rival those of mid-sized banks. In addition, many of these institutions hold extensive behavioral and financial data with far-reaching implications for privacy, commercial competition, and national security. In some cases, these entities are part of foreign-owned networks with offshore data storage, foreign-linked computer infrastructure, and opaque beneficial ownership structures that complicate regulatory visibility. Of equal concern is the emerging issue of data sovereignty. In a digital economy, financial data is no longer a mere administrative asset. It is a strategic national resource. Yet today, we cannot say with certainty where all the financial and the behavioral data processed by some of these institutions are stored, or who has access to them, or which foreign jurisdictions they may lay claim to it. If last year in particular, recent developments have made these gaps even more evident. In April last year, if we may recall, Central Bank ordered a temporary halt to onboarding for several fintechs over issues related to KYC, know your customer, and of course, anti-money laundering and suspicious transactions. Although onboarding was restored after remediation, the episode highlighted a deeper truth, that the scale and influence of these institutions have outgrown the regulatory tools available under existing law. From a global perspective, Nigeria is not alone in confronting this challenge. Many countries, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, India, Singapore, even the US and members of the European Union have adopted assertive frameworks that treat large fintechs and technology-enabled service providers as critical infrastructure. So therefore, what this bill seeks to achieve, one, is to create a statutory basis for the central bank to designate fintechs, payment intermediaries, digital lenders, and other technology-enabled financial service providers as systemically important institutions where their operations pose systemic risk, data or national security implications. Secondly, it establishes a national registry of fintechs and systemically important institutions, enabling traceability, continuous disclosure of beneficial ownership, and improved transparency within the financial ecosystem. Thirdly, it will empower the CBN to impose enhanced prudential and risk-based supervisory requirements tailored to the unique risks posed by the large technology-enabled firms. Fourthly, it will strengthen Nigeria's data sovereignty. And of course, lastly, it will enhance consumer protection, market competition, and systemic stability. Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the consequences of inaction are too significant to ignore. If we fail to modernize our legal framework, Nigeria may find itself dependent on foreign-owned AI-enabled financial ecosystems in ways that undermine domestic innovation, drain foreign exchange, and expose consumer data and weaken the competitiveness of our local firms. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the question that may arise as to whether the creation of a new stand-alone regulatory agency will be a preferable pathway for supervising fintechs. However, after careful consideration, it is evident that establishing an entirely new agency will duplicate functions, create bureaucratic overlap, and increase administrative costs, and fragment regulatory authority in a sector where coordination and coherence are essential. So fintech regulation is deeply intertwined with monetary policy, payment oversight, regulation, supervision, and enforcement of systemic monitoring, functions that already reside naturally and logically within the Central Bank of Nigeria. So a parallel agency will not only complicate the ecosystem, but it will also undermine the consistency of national financial regulation. So furthermore, international best practice overwhelmingly supports integrating fintech oversight within the existing financial sector regulators, particularly the central bank, while creating structured channels for interagency collaboration. This model ensures that financial stability, monetary policy transmission, consumer protection, cybersecurity, competition policy, and data governance are aligned rather than dispersed across disconnected institutions. So instead of building a new bureaucracy that is creating a new agency to oversee, it is far more effective to strengthen the BOFIA framework, enhance CBN's supervisory powers, and mandate robust coordination with agencies such as the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Nigerian Communications Commission, that's NCC, NITDA, Corporate Affairs Commission, and Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Beyond efficiency, incorporating fintech regulation into BOFIA ensures that Nigeria does not create a regulatory silo that fails to appreciate the deep integration between fintechs and the broader financial system. So therefore, payment systems, digital credit, settlement engines, mobile money and data-driven financial platforms all interact with banking sector infrastructure. So regulating them separately would create artificial barriers, slow down oversight, and weaken systemic risk management. A harmonized framework under the CBN, supported by interagency cooperation, better ensures national security, consumer protection, and financial stability. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill has no financial implication, and no compendium is attached as required by Order 76 sub 3 of the Senate Orders 2020 as amended. This is the moment for Nigeria to act with oversight. I urge my colleagues to support that this bill be now read a second time. Thank you for your attention. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Let me use this opportunity. I'm Yahya Abdullahi representing Kebbi North. And also at the same time, thank the sponsor of this bill, Senator Abiru, for coming with this at this point in time. I think despite all the pages that we have, about 3 or 4 pages of this is a very simple matter. What he's saying is that we are entering a digital age. This digital age contains so many financial technology companies, both in Nigeria and that operate above. The current law that we have in the central bank only takes care of the top banking financial institutions. It does not extend to these financial technology companies. So what he is saying that instead of creating a new institutions to manage these new technology companies, it's better to amend the existing act, which now and empower the central bank together with other financial regulatory agencies under BOFIA, to be able to attain this particular objective. So I think this thinking is in the right direction. All we will be waiting is for us to see which section of the act he is going to touch and how the amendment that he is thinking is going to inflict on the kind of coordination that he's thinking in order for us to capture and to make sure that we do regulate these financial technology companies effectively. This is a major issue. And on this issue, I'm 100% with him. We really need this amendment in order to protect our economy and to make sure that financial companies do not sink the resources that Nigerians invest in them. Thank you very much.
And he also said it's better to amend BOFIA than create new law, which will be...
Let me join Senator Yahya Abdullahi in commending the Chairman Senate Committee on Banking and Other Financial Institutions in taking the lead to amend the Banking and Other Financial Institution Acts Amendment Bill. If I could recollect, the last time this bill was amended was during the early part of the Ninth Senate, where it was an holistic amendment that was done to the extent of the organizational structure of the Central Bank of Nigeria, in the appointment of directors and all other sundry matters. But Mr. President, the chairman is coming up with a unique amendment. A unique amendment in the sense that during the Ninth Senate, and if you can recollect, there is always a finance bill that comes with the budget. One of the provision, one of the finance bill asks this Senate to pass was the issue of the online transactions, where we are losing so much money as a result of lack of any enabling acts in place to protect online transaction in Nigeria. We passed that act, we worked on it. Today, Facebook pay as much as minimum of about 100 billion to the Federal Republic of Nigeria as a result of that particular act and all other online transaction that is going on now. Mr. President.
What about OPay and Money Point?
All of them. This bill, what this bill tends to achieve, we capture the Money Point and the OP. Because as it currently were, billions and millions, both in naira and in dollars, are done online without even need to go through the banking system. Without going through the banking system. As we speak this morning, maybe a minimum of about $20 million, 100 billions of naira has gone through the different kind of platform without any recourse back to any of our banks in Nigeria. So what this bill tends to achieve is to amend the existing Banking and Other Financial Institutions Act to create a structure so that if you want to operate any online banking in Nigeria, this is the law of the land, and you must abide by it. Because as we speak, what central bank is just doing is using what we call as a bravado, putting guidelines that this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. But you and I know that if there's no Enabling Act, whatever guidelines you put in place, only God knows how far it can go. So what this bill tends to achieve is an holistic provision for this online transaction. I can tell you for free, Mr. President, there are some online transactions that are even bigger than our banks here in Nigeria. So many of them. So I want to commend the chairman of the committee for taking the bull by the horn by coming up with this amendment. And I want to call on my colleague that in the interest of our economy, in the interest of the country, that let us join hands to ensure that we expedite action on this bill so that Nigeria can gain more and also redefine our economy as one of the developed African nations in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sani Musa.
I stand to join my colleagues in supporting this bill. I'm also a co-sponsor of this bill. This bill tends to modernize our risk-based framework to meet international standards, because systemically important institutions are not really regulated here. If you look at the fintechs, if you look at many of the algorithms you find in financial sector are foreign-based and are not regulated. So I think this bill is trying to meet the international standard. The importance of this bill is that Nigeria will stand to even gain. And then individuals will be protected as well. Because as it is today, if you deposit your money through some of these fintechs, and God forbid anything happens, there is no any place you run back to. You can't go to NDIC because the regulation does not give that, does not cover up to that. So when you look at also, there will be synergy between both the CBN, the SEC, National Insurance Corporation and Regulatory Commission, and NDIC. You will see there will be a synergy. And this framework, when it starts, when it's enacted to law, it will also enable Nigeria to have more revenue, because there are so many leakages through the fintechs. Today, if you look at OPay, if you look at Money Points, the transaction, the daily transaction they do is more than so many of the standard banks that we have. So I think it's important we all support this bill and allow it to go.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, points that I want to speak on has been aptly captured by the previous speakers. So what I would really like to add is that what this bill really seeks to do is to give the Central Bank of Nigeria, under BOFIA, the powers to not only back, but bite. Because putting guidelines does not have the coercive power of enforcement, because it is purely advisory. But with a legal framework on ground, it will give the regulatory institution the power to not only back, but bite. So against this background, I think we should support the passage of this bill for second reading.
But Chairman Tokuma Biro, Bamadini, is there no any specific area of BOFIA that gives the central bank?
I am strictly looking at the conventional banks that we have today. So what this is addressing is also the emerging trend of financial transactions that are coming up in our financial
I know, but sometimes we could have a, well, this is just the second reading. We don't need to go to the details. No problem. Thank you. No, people, when we go to the, all could speak. Okay, because the main thing has been said, very clear. Amend BOFIA to take care of fintechs and all the rest. Imagine this by those who spoke before you.
Okay, 1 minute. Your Excellency, very distinguished colleagues, Issa Jibrin from Kogi East. Your Excellency, this bill is very important because here we are talking of high risks and high returns. Okay? These fintech companies are engaged in high risk areas. And at the end of the day, they lure people into their businesses. And like I said, where you have high risk, you have high return. And the probability of that system collapsing is very, very, very high. So it is very important that we expand the scope of BOFIA to cover these areas. But like rightly pointed out, I want to believe that they are actually doing it. Well, maybe we can tell them to intensify their efforts in that area because of the possible high risk involved in this area of businesses. I know, but very importantly too, is that in the course of doing that, the Securities and Exchange Commission in particular should also be brought on board. They also need to strengthen their own regulatory areas that have to do with these operations of the fintech companies. Securities and Exchange Commission also have to strengthen their own areas. Thirdly, and very importantly, is the fact that insurance coverage for their operations is paramount. Because when there is high risk and there is high return and the possibility of that system collapsing is very high, the issue of insurance is very, very important. So that those that are covered, if anything happens, will be able to recover at least a substantial part of their money. The insurance
thank you. The tax element is also very important. Tax element coming to the coffers of the government for their operations is also very, very important. That is number one.
So Victor Ume, I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, our colleagues have spoken greatly on this matter. And I just want to underscore the importance of regulating the operations of these fintechs and incorporating them into the BOFIA. Yesterday, you recall that I made a contribution here on the receiving of ransoms by the kidnappers. They receive these monies not through the conventional banks. It's through these fintechs that these monies are wired and they collect no trace, no trail of transaction of these sums of money. And they continue to operate with it. So if we now incorporate this in the law, nobody can operate without making available the necessary things required for you to operate any account. So that when you receive money, you must be located wherever you receive the money. So I support this bill. I'm happy that Senator Biru, the chairman of banking and other financial institutions, could bring this bill immediately. So it came at the right time. I don't want to belabor it. This is necessary, and I so support it for second reading.
Thank you. But I use that kind of platform to receive or to send ransom. That could be traced, except there's a laxity on the part of the investigators. That could be traced, for sure. Well,
something must be
when
happening.
you say to strengthen it further, that's fine, but it could be traced.
Any place you go to today now,
I mean, yeah. Thank you.
Just want to buttress one point on this the new bill, because
is going to curb a lot of fraudulent activity on the system. People know about loan sharks, which we didn't talk about. A lot of Nigerians are losing money through the loan sharks. You just see on the platform, somebody will send you that whether you need a loan, and you are depressed, you need a relief, you just click. The next thing is that they will be collecting your money from your banks, all over your banks, they'll be withdrawing without you knowing. First, the government is losing interest, tax on the interest they are collecting. Secondly, innocent people are losing a lot of their savings through this. This bill will bring an end to this. And that is why I'm very pleased and supportive of this bill. Thank you.
To Doha, Kogi Central. I stand to lend my voice on the second reading of this very crucial debate, which seeks to expand the legal and regulatory framework in the financial sector. And I'm going to speak on two very critical issues. Today, many of our youths have found careers and jobs on social media. And one particular trend which is worthy of mention is the fact that there's huge discrepancy with regards to payments on transactions carried out on Facebook in Nigeria as against their counterparts in the United States. And I'll say this clearly. Per 1,000 views, I'm speaking for the content creators because, trust me, this social media has become today a very critical source of income for our youths. So, for example, for a youth airing a video, a promotional video in America, the youth is being charged or is being paid between $10 to $30 for 1,000 views. While in Nigeria, the same video posted on the same platform, Facebook, the person earns only 50 cents per 1,000 views. And when you look at the reason for this discrepancy in payments, you see that it's largely because of the irregular or pretty much non-existent payment systems and regulations on online transactions. So I do believe that when this framework is done and is implemented, you will see that Nigerians earn as much as their counterparts in other countries.
Thank you, Senator.
Very timely intervention. Many of us, or let me speak to myself, many of the people who have been victims of hacking, when they hack into your account and they ask you to pay money, that you are in a distress and so on, no, Afolabi, these are not to do with you. But you are part of the problem because you are not with proper regulation. I have been...
Sir, you have 1 minute, only 1 minute you have. So utilize it very well.
Sir, you know, when you intervene like that, people like us who are not too fair, you destabilize us. Just allow us, you know, I'm a lefty, I need to take it according to my own slow brain.
So the 1 minute starts
just
now.
To say, sir.
The 1 minute starts now, no problem. It starts now.
God bless you, Mr. President. I believe we should all support this bill and even go into details to ensure that all possible loopholes are blocked. Because when they hacked into my account, I found that all the institutions used are this OPay, MoneyPoint, etc., etc. None of the registered banks were used. And when I asked, I'm told that's it. They don't have a branch in Abuja. They don't employ labor. They bear no social responsibility. So I think in addition to all those insurances, all these loopholes will be blocked. For example, I know all the directors of First Bank, of Access Bank, of Zenith Bank. I don't know the directors of OPay. I don't know the directors of MoneyPoint. These are visible players in our economy, play such an important role. And the day they go under, the political authority will be left with the burden of providing for Nigerians who have been duped. The primary purpose of government is to protect the citizens in every ramification. So I therefore that this law is not only timely, it's appropriate, and the point has been made even by your good self, Mr. President, that regulation by CBN do not have the force of law. Law can be enforced in court. Regulations, I'm not too sure of the standard. So I think we should support it, and I will encourage you to do more detailed live inquiry to ensure that all the loopholes are captured, including the owners of
Thank you very much. Your time is off.
Chronology. And as the chairman of Senate Committee on ICT and Cyber Security, I do know that a few years ago, digital economy, online transactions were on the fringe. If you needed money over the weekend, there would be Saturday banking. But today, analog is on the fringe. Online transactions are the mainstream. So therefore, to that extent, we need to look at our laws to ensure that they reflect the current realities. And that's why a few days ago, there was the National Digital Economy and E-Government Bill that is supposed to provide omnibus regulatory clarity for online transactions. But it's not enough. Every sector must also come with some new laws to address the specific challenges of that sector where the National Digital Economy and E-Government Bill provide overall. Now, in conclusion, I'd like to make two requests. Number one, I would like this committee to be part.
Your time is off.
Just 1 minute. I'd like this committee to be part of the committee that will look at this bill when it goes for referral, because
Thank you. That's noted, Senator Jimo.
On the 25th of October, was removed from the Financial Action Tax Acts. In other words, we are now free for money laundering and all that. This bill is in tandem with the global thinking that Nigeria is now a safe place to do investments. The earlier we quickly enact this amendment and put our law in tandem with the global financial laws, the better. I must congratulate Mr. President and the President of Nigeria for removing Nigeria's name from Financial Action Task Force, because the pleasure of that is that it was difficult for us to even send school fees of our children or buy the thing abroad without extreme, extreme questions that we need to answer on money laundering acts. Now that we are no longer there, thanks to the President for the good success he records on the economy by removing Nigeria's name from this very dangerous task force globally. So I urge you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, that we make this amendment very quickly, as Bob and Senator Abiru, to make sure that we are in tandem with global financial security. Thank you, Mr. President.
I now put the question. Those in favor that this bill be read a second time, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Clerk of the Senate. A bill for an act to amend the banks and other financial institutions Act to provide for the designation, registration, and enhanced supervision of systematically important institutions and for related matters 2025 SB 959 second reading taken. The bill is referred to the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and other financial institutions to report back within 4 weeks. Let me commend Senator Abiru, the Baba Adini of Ikorodu, and the Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking and other financial institutions for bringing forward this bill. As debated, everyone could see the importance of this bill. Speakers after speakers spoke about the need to bring BOFIA in tune with modernity, in tune with the current and contemporary happening within our financial sector, financial and banking sector, where you now have fintechs and all the rest, that our law, our BOFIA, should be amended to take care of all these new innovative financial entities in order for the government to always leverage on their existence to have necessary facts. I mean, the tax, sorry. Necessary facts and also for the customers to be protected. Otherwise, one day we might find ourselves in big problem and government may be losing a lot of money, a lot of money that need to come to its coffers, being left without being brought into its coffers. So thank you for your innovation.
One of the most present national challenges, extremely poverty. Despite various interventions over the years, millions of Nigerians still lack access to basic necessities. What have been missing in a centralized, coordinated, and data-driven institution to manage social welfare programs effectively? This bill provides exactly that. It proposes the establishment of social welfare service as a department under the ministry responsible for humanitarian affairs with branches in all the 36 states and FCT. This ensures that social protection programs are not just Abuja-centered, but reach communities nationwide. The service will be responsible for designing, implementing welfare programs, including food transfers, cash transfers, education stipends, housing support, subsidies for marginal farmers, credit schemes, allowances for elderly and persons with disability. It will also develop targeting mechanisms to ensure that only genuine vulnerable households benefit from it. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, a key innovation on this bill is the creation of safety centers across the Federation, serving as operational hubs for identifying beneficiaries, delivering support, and monitoring outcomes. This bill mandates the maintenance of a register of beneficiaries and graduates, ensuring transparency and helping track the long-term impact on the programs. The bill clearly outlines eligibility criteria, such as households earning below 5,000 monthly, day laborers earning below 3,000 per job, low-income artisans, subsistence farmers, and residents of slums. This will help to eliminate political influence or arbitrary selection. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the administrative structure is also defined. The minister should appoint a coordinator within at least 15 years of experience in social welfare practice and proven integrity, supported by staff from ministries and civil service. This ensures professionalism and capacity. Distinguished colleagues, this bill represents a bold step towards building a modern, transparent, and sustainable social protection system. It aligns with global best and gives Nigerians a stronger institutional foundation for poverty reduction. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to give full support to this bill in the interest of national stability, social justice, and human dignity. Mr. President, I rest my case and allow you to handle the chambers and leave Alaye Oguta Lagos to come and have his seat and support the bill.
Senator Ademalero.
Sponsored by my good friend and brother, Senator Ojo Uzokalu. And let me commend him for coming up with this very revolutionary bill. In the past, several measures have been taken to alleviate poverty. But unfortunately, such measures have not yielded the required result. I could recall we have National Poverty Eradication Program, Nigeria Investment Poverty Reduction Program. We had Ministry of Trade and Investment sending out handouts to several Nigerians. So all this uncoordinated approach, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, have not yielded the required result, as I said. To the extent that we have well over 70% of our population under extreme poverty. In fact, Nigeria has even been described as the capital of poverty in the whole world. The situation, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, is alarming. And that's why this bill is very timely and apt. And I want all my colleagues to support it. Because the 10th Senate will write its name in gold if we come out with a very strong legislation that will reduce extreme poverty in Nigeria, particularly in rural areas where people cannot get even 2 square meals a day. In fact, even a meal a day is difficult in some communities. So that's why all of us should support this bill. By so doing, we will reduce poverty to the barest minimum. I so support, Mr. President. Thank you.
The chief whip. Sorry, the leader.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleague, I'm Senator Lola Ashiru, Deputy Leader of the Senate. Your Excellency, if I should understand the essence of this bill, I will want to say with all sense of responsibility that work to be done on it. And I think the essence of it is a good classification, data collection, data analysis, and a scientific way of approaching all the assistance and social welfare services this government and other governments have been doing over a very long time. I agree in totality that whatever we do in Nigeria should be based on a very good data and organization. There are some statistics that are extremely pathetic that I'm reading from this submission, especially when the proponent of the bill wrote that there are some families that are earning below 5,000 monthly. I don't know whether we call that one subsistence level or we call it poverty level. Definitely it's very, very far from low poverty level. Neither is it close to a subsistence level. The advice is that side by side with this bill, we should look at how Nigeria should work harder, how Nigeria should work more, how Nigeria should do everything possible to contribute to the productivity level of the whole Nigeria. Why I stand firmly to support this bill, I pray that the President of the Senate should quickly approve it for second reading.
The chief whip. Sorry.
Well, I am supporting this bill sponsored by my elder brother and a colleague in the House of Representatives as far back as 1992, though I am not a class of 1999. I'm not a class of 1999. I'm class of 1992. So, Mr. President, distinguished senators, this bill is very, very apt and germane, especially against the backdrop of the report of the World Bank that placed about 60% of Nigerians living beyond 70% of Nigerians living beyond poverty line. So what this bill seeks to do is to, by way of scientifically driven data, get data of Nigerians that are living beyond poverty line, and then devise ways and means of bringing them out of poverty, just like what China did in the early 80s, when there is mass poverty in China. China came out with a similar data-driven approach and then engaged majority of its people in agriculture, thereby bringing out majority of its people out of poverty. So what this bill essentially seeks to do that, a department in the ministry that is given the legal mandate to get the data and then devise ways and means of bringing Nigerians out of poverty. Thank you.
Senator Solomon Olamilekun Yayi, Chairman, Senate Committee on
the Federal Republic. Mr. President, let me start by commending the mover of this bill. I want to say it is timely, and the intent and purpose of moving this kind of bill at this point in time is genuine, because you will recollect that successive administration have done so much in the area of social intervention. But this, as much as we try, there is no proper coordination. Sometimes some of these social intervention don't get to require destination or the set target because of lack of proper coordination. What this bill tends to achieve, among other things, is to ensure for proper coordination of our social intervention by setting up this social welfare service and to be domiciled in the humanitarian ministry. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, it is clear that the key innovation of this bill is to creation of safety centers across the Federation, serving as an operational hub for identifying beneficiaries. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, you will quite agree with me that we don't have these kind of safety centers anywhere. At any time when government wants to do any social intervention, the next thing is bring names and their phone numbers and their this, and before you know it, they will come around and say, yes, they've done the social intervention. And there will be argument. No, who do you empower in my area? Who do you give this social intervention to in my locality? But with the creation of this bill, creating a safety centers across the Federation, it will address this once and for all. And it is to this extent, Mr. President, I'm supporting this bill wholeheartedly and asking my colleague to let us give it expenditure of passage so that we can at least modernize, structure our social service welfare, which is to be domiciled in the humanitarian, and we will have offices across the 36 states of the Federation. I commend the mover once again, and I say this is the right step in the right direction. I so submit, Mr. President.
Now, Mr. President, the importance of this bill cannot be overemphasized because we know how important it is to lift the poor out of poverty. Without repeating what the previous speakers have said, I will just simply point out that this bill, one major thing that we are going to achieve is to ensure transparency in the programs of government in terms of poverty eradication, transparency and confidence on the people. One thing for sure is that previous programs, even those that were done last year, people didn't even believe conditional cash transfer. A lot of people still today never believe anybody got that money because we don't have a coordinated system where it can be checked who actually got this and who didn't get that. And above all, elimination of corruption. The controversy that are involved in programs of poverty eradication will be completely eliminated if the bill is passed. Without speaking so much, Mr. President, I so submit and I support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Anything you want to do without carrying rural population with you is a failure. Because most of these people are so poor, and they are more than 70% of all of us. Few of us that are lucky, we are here to decide on their fate. But if this social welfare bill is in place, that includes the governors and the local government, it will work so perfectly. What we have been doing in the past, the Senate, the House of Rep, they do the governors alone on their own. But if they are inconcatenated, everybody is in the same place, you will see that the federal government hope of getting to the root of these poverty-striking people, it will be over very soon. Whatever we do now, without taking them into this bill, and the bill is working on all of us, making it compulsory that we have to bring these people up from this level of poverty up, then we are in trouble. If we can bring them up, automatically Nigeria will be safe. Without that,
thank you,
I support my friend.
Senator Fada Hunsi.
And God bless.
Well, I don't think we need more debate on this. Please, let's have 1 minute, because welfare initiatives, several social welfare initiatives are being introduced by the government, and they are ongoing. So we have to understand that. It's only for us to probably a kind of commend the government and probably add that they should be a kind of strengthened. Otherwise, we have them on ground. You know, Senator San, he knows, Chairman of Finance Committee, he knows
you, Mr.
we budget
President.
money for these, for those.
We bring all the social interventions that the government is doing under one umbrella, and the Ministry of Humanitarian will be able to acquire those data, and will be able to get exactly the number and the percentage of the vulnerable Nigerians that need this help. Because previously, when we take facilities from World Bank to support such interventions, most of these funds don't get to the vulnerables. It ends up somewhere. But where there is a statistical data which is aligned with our national identity, and also the bank, synergize with the banks, it will be easier for these vulnerable people to be supported. So I support this bill, and I believe that we will pass this bill to the
Senator Adam Oshomole.
Is a bill. I think, like you have said, Mr. President, our government has had approached over the years social security on ad hoc basis. And like you also said, billions of naira have been sunk. But this money has been sunk into the pockets of those who are supposed to administer them. There is no better scandal I can remember more than when the Nigerian government decided that all primary schools should be closed. And yet, in the name of feeding the children of the poor, a minister of that time claimed to be spending money to be feeding children who were at home when schools were closed. But because there is no law, it was just based on individuals' whims and caprices. I think this is more a structured approach that will allow for more accountability, and data should be verifiable, testable, and you can cross-check. And the money is not given to people who we define the poor as meaning their own pocket. I think for me it's good. The only thing that we must agree, even at this stage, is that there's a lot of job to be done, even to define who is poor, not as it's defined here, 5,000 a month. No, I think the issues are not exactly like that. But it does point to the fact that there are Nigerians who are totally socially and economically excluded, and we need to bring them on board. It's also part of the tools we need to create stability. That is the way the capitalists has managed to confuse the poor and create a stable society by saying if you are a victim of the market, then you fall on the social safety net. I think it is good, and there is no point saying we are not yet wrapped. No tree can be wrapped until it is planted. So let us plant it now in the 10th Assembly, and prayerfully over time it can benefit from amendment and re-amendment until we have an elegant arrangement that is foul-proof. For now, I think it is worthwhile, even for the optics, that will pass this into law, and that this second reading goes through with all senators buying into it. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me just 1 minute.
Please, those in favor, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Clerk of the Senate. Social welfare, service to reduce extreme poverty among other vulnerable groups and implement social protection system and measures in Nigeria and for related matters 2025 SB 4T, second reading taken. The bill is referred to the Committee on Public Service Matters to report back within 4 weeks. Let me commend Senator Orji Kalu for bringing forward this bill. It's a bill that will further strengthen the system in respect to social welfare has been implemented now in the country because the government is doing very well. The president is doing very well. He should be commended for several social welfare initiatives that have been run in this country to help the poorest of the poor, so as to bring financial inclusion to all and sundry, to help those who need help. That has been implemented. Several programs have been implemented, and as we speak, I know there's a preparation in respect to a very big program that will bring succor to our people at the world levels, the world level where a lot will benefit from that program. I know very soon we shall hear from the president, in respect of this program. It will turn around the entire country in terms of bringing succor to those that are poor in our society, particularly at the world's level. So we commend you and also commend the president for what he's doing in respect to this kind of arrangement. The leader of the Senate.
To move the motion to lead the debate on the births, deaths, and etc. Compulsory Registration Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025, SB 913. Mr. President, do I proceed to lead debate?
You may proceed.
Okay, thank you.
You may proceed. Proceed, please. You don't need a
Financial
seconder in this kind of motion.
No,
Once you move the motion, then you proceed.
Just to, for courtesy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take your permission to go on. Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. It is my privilege to lead the debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to repeal the births, deaths, and so on and so forth, Compulsory Registration Act, Cap B9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to reenact the births, deaths, and so on and so forth, Compulsory Registration Bill 2025, to provide for an electronic civil registration and vital statistics system and or related matters. This bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 15th October 2025. Distinguished colleagues, the current law governing the registration of births and deaths in Nigeria, the Births, Deaths, and ETC Compulsory Registration Act, Cap B9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, is a colonial era legislation that has become obsolete and grossly inadequate for our present realities. Despite being over 6 decades old in its core structure, the law still relies on manual record keeping and outdated administrative procedures. This has resulted in weak data capture, inefficiency, duplication of efforts, and lack of reliable national statistics on vital events such as births, deaths, marriages, and adoptions. In a digital age where data drives governance, planning, and service delivery, Nigeria cannot continue to rely on paper-based systems for vital registration. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigeria's civil registration system faces multiple challenges, including low registration coverage, less than 60% of births, and under 20% of deaths are officially registered. Manual record keeping that is prone to loss, forgery, and inaccuracies are part of the problem. Fragmented institutional responsibilities between local governments, registrars, hospitals, and the National Population Commission. Lack of integration with the National Identity Management System, NIMSI, health records or census data, and limited accessibility of vital records to citizens, especially in rural areas. The result is that Nigeria lacks a reliable, up-to-date national database of vital statistics which affects policy planning in health, education, security, and social welfare. This bill seeks to modernize Nigeria's civil registration framework by introducing the Electronic Civil Registration and Vital Statistics, CRVS system. Specifically, the bill aims to, among other things, repeal the outdated Births and Deaths and etc. Compulsory Registration Act, establish a comprehensive real-time electronic platform for the registration of all vital events, births, deaths, marriages, divorces, adoptions, and stillbirths, integrate civil registration data with national identity and health information systems, enhance accessibility for citizens through digital and local government service centers, and strengthen the role of the National Population Commission as the central authority for civil registration and vital statistics. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the passage of this bill will bring numerous national benefits, including accurate demographic data for planning, health, education, and social welfare programs, improved identity management and linkage with the national identification number, enhanced security and migration control, as all citizens and residents will have verifiable records, support for maternal and childbirth policies through accurate birth and death monitoring, ease of doing business, as verifiable documents will be available online. Some of the key innovations introduced in this bill include establishment of an electronic civil registration and vital statistics system, ECRVS, provision for digital certification of births and deaths, mandatory registration of all vital events within stipulated time frames, and recognition of electronic records as legally valid documents. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in a 21st century data-driven world, the ability of a nation to accurately account for every birth and death within its borders is a sign of effective governance. This bill, therefore, represents a bold and progressive step toward digital transformation in civil registration, ensuring that no Nigerian is left unrecorded or unaccounted for from birth to death. I therefore urge my distinguished colleagues to support the speedy passage of this bill, which was brought at the behest of the National Population Commission to use digital systems to carry out their functions, to enable Nigeria to establish a modern electronic and reliable civil registration and vital statistics system that will enhance national planning, security, and development. I thank you very much, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill to go for second reading. Thank you.
Reading through this bill and listening the very warm, precise delivery by Senator Ume, it gives me an opportunity to say this is long overdue. It also makes me sad that this law is just coming to the floor of the parliament after a very long time. The civil registration, Mr. President, is a global thing. Every developed nation that you visited, at the touch of a button, will tell you the number of deaths recorded in a particular month, in a particular week, and in a particular day. Consequently, therefore, the registration from birth gives us an unfettered opportunity for those who claim citizenship. When you are born here, your parents were born here, it is clear that we are Nigerian. But today, we have found ourselves saddled in a very serious situation because of our size, because of our economic capacity. A lot of Africans come to Nigeria and within a very short time claim citizenship. And even though our foreign policy says Africa is a cornerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy, that does not give right to anybody to claim our citizenship without being vetted. So what addresses that problem, Mr. President, is making sure that people are registered at birth. Less than 20% of our general population now are registered at birth. And we're a population going up to 250 million. And yet we have found out this is not rightly done. And of course, if you look at all the developed countries, there is no way you develop without a data that gives you an idea how many people die in a year, how many people actually came into the world, into existence within a given time, how many old people, how many middle-aged people, how many young men, how many women, how many unmarried men, how many unmarried ladies. These are very essential for you to be able to develop a mechanism for development. And I think this bill becomes not only necessary, but imperative that this National Assembly must see it through. It is important when you go to countries, Mr. President, like Canada, as you are entering a city, there is a signboard that this city, these are the citizens, the number of citizens, the number of female, the number of male, the number of young men, the number of women, the number of young girls. This is clearly written in every Canadian city. Before we enter, you see it, because they have this data. So it is important for all of us to recognize the importance of this bill. It's better late than never, and I support this bill with all my heart, and I think our colleagues should support it. It's not about money. It's not something the population has no money, but it is important that we need to have a basis for putting money where it belongs. So I support this bill with all seriousness it deserves.
We want to move forward to take your motion. The more you want to speak, the more you waste time on getting to your motion. You still want to speak? The chance of getting your motion through might be difficult. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator.
This bill now be ready second time. Please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate. Repeal the births, deaths, and so on Compulsory Registration Act CAP B9-LFN 2004 and to enact the Compulsory Civil Registration 2025 to provide for electronic civil registration system and for other related matters 2025 SB 913 second reading taken. The bill is referred to the Committee on National identity, and national population to report back within 4 weeks. The Leader of the Senate.
Pension Board charged with responsibility of administering the pension scheme for the personnel of the force and exempt the force from application of contributive pension scheme under the Pensions Reform Act 2014. Number 2, Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Courts Bill 2025 HB 378. This bill seeks to repeal the Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Courts Repeal and Enactment Act number 12 of 2010 and enact the Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Courts Act 2024. Confers criminal jurisdiction on area courts in the Federal Capital Territory in addition to its existing jurisdiction over civil matters in which parties are subject to the discretion of the court to the extent set out in the establishment warrant and make provision for the application of Penal Code Act, Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2025, and any other written law which the court may be authorized to enforce in accordance with provision of this bill. Mr. President, respected colleagues, these bills are straightforward and have gone through necessary legislative process in the House of Representatives. I therefore urge you all to support the second reading of this bill as we refer them to Committee of Whole for clause-by-clause consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigerian Police Pension Board Establishment Bill 2025 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 34 as recommended. Interpretation, clauses 35 as recommended. Short title, clauses 36 as recommended. Short schedules 1 to 2 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Cost Bill 2025 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 51 as recommended. Interpretation, clause 52 as recommended. Repeal, clause 50, repeal, clause 53 as recommended. Short title, clause 54 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Long title as recommended. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole. The Leader of the Senate. Board charged with the responsibility of administering the pension scheme for the personnel of the force. I exempt the force from the application of the contributory pension scheme under the Pension Reform Act 2014 and for the March 2025, HB 979, third reading. Taken and passed. Just 1 minute. A bill for the Act to repeal the Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Cost Repeal and Enactment Act 2010 and enact the Federal Capital Territory Abuja Area Court Act to, among other things, expand the jurisdiction of the area courts to entertain both civil and criminal matters and for related matters 2025, HB 378, third reading taken and passed. The Leader of the Senate.
Your Excellency, Mr. Senate President, our distinguished colleagues, the last order of the day,
Ibrahim, Thank you, Mr. President. I start to move the motion for achieving fair and balanced infrastructure development expansion route, specifically Akure-Ore roads repairs to be inclusive of Okutukwa, Igbekoda, Unity Road. The Senate notes that roads construction, repairs, design, and reconstruction are vital to any national economic development, particularly where traffic volume has increased significantly in support of commercial activities. Nigeria classifies roads as national importance, designed major roads as federal, states, or local government roads to ensure clear responsibility for maintenance. Also note that Akure-Ore road repairs, officially designed as Project C number 6509 and coded EPG 1219077, are federal government initiative supervised by Federal Ministry of Works and Housing with a total appropriation of over 30 billion, with the same amount allocated in the 2023 fiscal years. The project is ongoing and forms part of Nigeria's commitment to the United Nations-supported Sustainable Development SDGs goals, which align with the World Bank and IMF policies aimed at eradicating poverty in the year 2030. Further note that while the federal government's ongoing intervention on major highways are commendable, it is critical to capture and address concerns of key stakeholders affected by road conditions in the oil-producing areas. Aware that Ondo State is an oil-producing state, contributing 7% of Nigeria's crude oil revenue, with the major oil production communities located in Ondo South Senatorial District. The primary area routes of the region of Ore, Okitupa, Igbekoda Federal Road, which is directly linked to the ongoing project number CR6509 and account for 95% of the economic relevance of the corridor, yet remain largely unattended to. Also aware that sustainable engagement is vital in government decision-making, especially where the collective interest of communities coincides. The Ore Okitupa Igbekoda road serve as a unity road, linking ongoing oil-producing community across the district and enabling shared economic and social benefits. Further note that protecting and strengthening the unity of community with common interests remain a national responsibility. The Federal Ministry of Works and Housing can deepen public trust and support and ensure equitable distributions of federal infrastructure projects, particularly in economic strategic regions. Recall that communities across Ondo South Senatorial District has historical coexistent peacefully and are committed to preserving their shared heritage and collective identity. Mr. Senate President, recognize the communal attention may arise when government policies and infrastructure appear to favor some communities over the other. It is the responsibility of the Senate to ensure fairness, equity, and national security. Oil-producing communities must benefit from resources derived from their land, and exclusion could create feeling of marginalization, especially when the community resources appear to be used to develop other areas. Concludes that excluding Ore, Okitupa, Igbekoda Road from the ongoing federal government repairs effectively overlooked the only federal highway serving the oil community zone in the area, thereby marginalizing more than 2 million residents, including 1.5 million registered voters in Ondo South senatorial district. In the interest of justice, equity, and national unity, it is important that the condor be included in the ongoing work. Only one prayer. Accordingly aware. Urge the federal government, Federal Ministry of Works to incorporate Ore Okitupa Ibekoda Federal Road in the ongoing federal government repairs on the Akure Ore Road under project C number 6509. I so much respectively, Mr. Senate President.
It's up to contrast for the Ondo State government.
Your Excellency, the whole nation as a whole, we have been very, very unfair to people of Igbokoda axis for so many reasons. If you are looking for a peaceful community in the whole of southwest states, there's no community that is as peaceful as Igbokoda people. If you are looking for highly resource area in Ondo State, we should remember that beyond the oil we are talking about, there's abundant bitumen that we have not even tapped. This motion is very, very straightforward. And for the purpose of equity and fairness, I am moving that we should accede to the prayer in this motion. I so move.
Now I turn to
My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central of Bauchi State. Mr. President, the only reason why democracy is a democracy is the presence of a legislature, is the presence of a parliament. And the only reason why a parliament is a parliament is the presence of members elected to come to the parliament to represent their people. So in a nutshell, at every given time, Mr. President, when a senator raises up to discuss the problem of his constituency, that particular senator should be supported 100% because fundamentally, originally, that's why that senator is seated here. So when a senator speaks about people, whether you are aware of that problem or not, whether you have been to that domain or not, it is incumbent upon all of us to support a particular senator who brings the interests of his people to the fore. The Ore Ekiti-Pupa Road, I've been on that road for over a decade, precisely in 2017 and 2019. And it gives me a very gloomy perspective of Nigeria's problem as a whole. Because this is an area that was correctly stated is an oil-producing area. And about 7% of the crude of Nigeria comes from that part of Nigeria. And yet, for one reason or the other, roads like that becomes impassable. The people of that area becomes hopeless. They become helpless. The only reason why people hope raises is when a member from that particular community or another member that notices that kind of injustice brought up these issues. Having said that, let me commend Professor Jimo for rightly crying loud and clear about the suffering of his people. And basically, that's why we come here, to speak for people. Because not everybody will have the opportunity of coming here. So it is a representation. However, it is important now to say, apart from the federal government, that the prayer specifically targeted, we must encourage Senator Jimo to also key in into the NDDC funding. He must also call the attention of his state government. He must also call the attention of his local government. Why did I say so that? Why did I say that? Because more often than not, I have seen states who do just parallel roads in anticipation of repayment. So it is important that this kind of attention should not only be targeted, even though it's a federal road, which is really ascertained, confirmed, it's a federal road, but what is the state government doing? What is the ADDC doing? What is the local government doing in making sure that even the filling of potholes, they cannot wait for federal government only, considering the challenges that we have as a nation, whereby this attention, the federal government attention is called in 36 states of Abuja. So it's important, Mr. President, that we key into this and support this prayer, but also ask the senator, guide the senator to also key in on NDDC and state government. I so submit, Mr.
Thank you. We go to the prayers. In the motion, which I read as follows. Urge the Federal Minister of Works to incorporate the Ore, Okitipupa, Igbo Kota Federal Road into the ongoing federal government repairs on the Akure Ore corridor under Project C, certificate number 6509. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me commend Senator Ambassador Designate Jimo Ibrahim for bringing forward this motion. This shows that he cares for his people, that even though his outgoings is going to be an ambassador very soon, in the next few days, he's still determined to make sure that he undertake what he feels is the best thing to be done to his area in order to bring the needed development to them. This is highly commendable. And please do not rest on your oars, but continue, even if by the time you have gone to your ambassadorial assignment overseas, still continue on this trend of providing necessary support and service to your people. You can't work from there. You are someone who is versatile, someone who is really agile in terms of service to his people, service to humanity. The fact that you be away from the shores of this country should not stop you from extending your usual assistance to your people. Your assistance to the people is not confined to your area alone. It is to the entire country. Your scope does not have any boundary. So continue to work for your people and to work for Nigeria. Thank you very much for this motion. Thank you. Leader Senate, can you move for a job? Oh, well, there's no need for... on this note, having exhausted all that we need to do today, the Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, the 9th day of December, 2025, at 11 a.m. prompt. Thank you very much.